Today we welcome Craig Lawson of Terrace Trails to the non-league radio show. Hello, Craig.
Hi, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. Before we get stuck into the questions, I'm going to quickly just read the bio out from Terrace Trails so people get an idea of what you want to do. So at Terrace Trails on Twitter, and Craig invites people to join him on a journey to explore lower league, non-league and women's football in the UK. Sounds simple. And probably known more as groundhopping, but what got you into this in the first place?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been interested in football, since I was a kid, and I used to go a lot of games with my friends and like my friends' dad and stuff. And I guess I was going to a lot of Hibs games. When obviously the COVID pandemic started, we were, I guess we were all restricted in what we could do and where we could go. So it kind of made me think a bit because, I used to go and watch the same team every week or, go and meet the same people every week. When the, restrictions starting to loosen up, a lot of the non-league games were, I guess, some of the first games I could go back to because they had smaller grounds. So there was not really any kind of capacity restrictions or things like that. So yeah, I was, I guess, really looking forward to be able to kind of travel around, meet new people, see teams that I've maybe not had the chance to see them before, and also just, I guess, try and discover that there's more than just, the top flight teams in Scotland. There's a lot of really good, clubs that are further down the tiers, which I've certainly found out are they put on just as good football, if not better, than what I was watching before the COVID pandemic. So yeah, the ground hopping, I guess it was more me trying to get out more, try and get back to traveling around and really just kind of put myself outside my comfort zone and meet all these amazing new football clubs and people. And yeah, it's been absolutely amazing so far, to be honest. And yeah, I think I've still got, there's so many grounds I need to go to and so many teams I've not seen yet. So it's almost like I kind of, it's a venture that I kind of half regret because I'm a bit of a completionist, and with non-league football, it's there's just so many teams out there that where do you stop? So yeah.
Yeah, I know from doing some research on when I was trying to hit Scotland for some radio shows, that I started getting into research of the leagues and all the different teams, and it's mind blowing, not just in Scotland but all over teams at lower leagues. So you've got some task on your hand to get around all of them.
Yeah, big time. And I mean, I still want. I've been to a few, a couple of non-league grounds down south, and that's something that eventually, money permitting and time permitting, I want to explore as well. Like like the National League, and yeah, I love the, certainly the non-league football down in England as well. But at the moment, I'm just I'm trying to be sensible about how much I'm spending on the football and whatnot. But yeah, there's so many opportunities, so many different places to go. So that'll probably take me up to the rest of my life trying to see all these clubs and stuff,
So far on your travels, which would you say was your favourite ground that you've been to?
Yeah, so I've been to quite a lot. To put it lightly, I've probably been going to too many games, but certainly I would say, like, first off the bat, I would say, Christy Gillies Park. It's home to the civil service strollers. I'll touch on more about the club later on, but yeah, I absolutely love going to Christy Gillies Park, and it doesn't matter who the strollers are playing against. I always kind of look forward to it. Apart from that, I mean, I like going to Foresters Park a lot as well. That's home of Trinent Juniors. That's definitely one of my favourite grounds, not just in the non-league, but just one of my favourite grounds in general. It's always a cracking day out there, and the people are there are just amazing. If I was picking another one, I spent a lot of time going to Ainsley Park, and that they basically host quite a lot of teams. So predominantly it is Spartans ground. So I occasionally see Spartans, whether it be the men's team or the women's team. But they also have Lothian Thistle, Hutchison Vale, or Hutchie as our nickname goes. So I'm at Ainsley Park quite a lot, and I do enjoy going there because they've got literally games on every week, whether it be under 20s, seniors, or men or women. So they've got so many games on. I'm trying not to list every ground I've been to, but I think if I was to pick one more, I would probably say. I'll go with two, right? So we've got New Countess Park, which is Dunbar United. The setup they've got there is just absolutely incredible. Like the set, I mean, the stadium, the facilities, like the clubhouse and stuff is on par, if not better, than a lot of the clubs in like League One and Championship in Scotland. So that they've definitely got ambitions, to go up the leagues, and they've got the setup there. And I also mentioned, actually, you've had Brian on recently,
Yeah.
from Preston Athletic, and Penny Pit Park, where I'm actually going again tomorrow. I always enjoy going through there to Preston Pans. They're always, it's good football, it's good people, run the club, and it's a good place to watch football.
Without selling yourself down the river for this one, where probably similar to the other question, where would you say the best fans are, or maybe is where you've been made most welcome? I would say
So
put one against the other.
yeah, so like for my non-league team, I support Christie Gullies Park. So civil service strollers, we play at Christie Gullies Park. So I would say I would be pretty biased, and I would say civil service strollers. But if I'm being unbiased, I Trinent have been absolutely superb, and I know you had Craig Gordon on recently,
Yeah.
and he's fantastic. The stuff he does for me and anyone that goes to visit Trinent, and the club are just so welcoming, and as I say, the facilities are matched by like a really good community spirit, from everyone in the committee. Definitely, like I love going to Fruit of Trinent, and if it wasn't so far, I mean, it's about an hour on the bus from town. If it was a bit closer, I'd probably go more often. But it's I always love going Fruit of Trinent.
Good stuff. I see lots of people posting football food, if you wanted to put it for that description. I just wonder where you've been, where's had the best food on offer. I see lots of burgers and things posted, so depends what you like, I suppose. But where was the best food?
Yeah, so that's a tough one because it's weird because the lower you go down the leagues, the better the quality of the catering. And when I say that to people, they sometimes think I'm mad because you think that you go to like a big stadium. I've been to Wembley and all that, and the catering is horrendous. Like it's just overpriced. It's not very good. It's the same with if you were to go to like Hampden or Ibrox or Parkhead or anything like that. So as I say, the lower league it's quite competitive, and like not just at the football level but on the food level as well, because so what they do is they've got the best lower league clubs have good link ups with local butchers or local bakers and stuff, and it gets pretty competitive. So I would say first off, I would say like Dunbar United is probably one of the best Scotch pies I've ever had at the football, and they do steak pies, which are I would probably regard as world class as well. So I'd certainly say Dunbar United are incredible. Another notable option I would say is Trinent Juniors again. So their pies are phenomenal anyway. But they started doing macaroni pies a few months ago, and I tell people this all the time. It is literally the best macaroni pie you'll ever get. Not just at the football; it's just different class. So yeah, definitely, Trinent are a league above when it comes to their catering and stuff. So yeah, I'd say those two clubs are good. But I've had good food at the kind of higher league clubs and stuff as well. But I always think that fifth and sixth tier, the food's just way better. Way better. If you go below sixth tier, I think obviously. Dunbar are currently seventh tier at the moment, but they hopefully they will get promoted because they're doing very well at the moment. But yeah, food's just unbelievable. Like, if there was like a Champions League for like food and stuff, I think those two clubs would be thereabouts every year. To be honest, like.
So, is there a set? I was going to ask how many times a week do you go
Mm.
ground hopping, or do you try and like have a number? Like, I'm going to go at least one this week, or does it just depend on what's happening from week to week?
Yeah, so sometimes it can be hard, with whatever happens with the trains or like the weather in Scotland's just so bad. It's like, it's quite hard, but I always try and get like a minimum of 3 games if I can. And like the last few weeks, I think I've done like 4 games, which is pretty good going. If I can, I'll try and get a couple of games in a day, but sometimes you're like, it's quite hard if with the kickoff times and the traveling and stuff. So yeah, I would say maybe like I try and get at least 3, and if I can't get 3 like non-league senior games, I'll kind of drop down to the under 20s and go and see like Spartans or Hachi Vale or something like that. So yeah, I find it's actually more games on than you think. You know what I mean? Because like when I was younger, it used to be the way of it that if the team you support, like your Premiership team, if they're not playing, you just don't go to the football or you watch something on the TV.
Yeah,
The thing I've kind of realised recently is like there's literally games on every day, and a lot of them they're not like they're not impossible to get to. Sometimes I need to hop on a train to Croy to go to like Broadwood or it's everywhere's accessible by train or bus. So if I can get there, I don't drive, so that's like one of my limitations. Like I need like public transport needs to get me there. So that kind of restricts me. But I find generally that I can get most places by bus or train in about an hour, like for most of the main games I want to go to. So certainly keeps me busy. And yeah, I think some of my friends like they maybe go to like 1 game a week or every fortnight, and they probably think I'm mad, like just going to like 12 games a month or something. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's addictive, and it doesn't really. I never get really tired of watching football. You know what I mean? It's like I always say to people, like if I wasn't going to watch live football, I'd be watching it on the TV anyway. So it's probably better me getting out of the house and
definitely.
going along and seeing these clubs and giving them my hard-earned money, as they say. But yeah, it definitely keeps me busy.
Well, the next question I was going to ask is where the
Mm,
furthest. What is the furthest you've travelled to a game? But I'll maybe split it into two. Maybe
mm,
it's in Scotland, the furthest you've
mhm.
travelled a game, and then outside of Scotland.
Sure. Yeah. Um. So in Scotland, so like in general, I think like I've not been to any Highland League games, non-league in Scotland, but obviously I mentioned earlier that I have season ticket holder. And I used to go to a lot of. I used to go on the away bus everywhere, so I've been to a lot of the games up north, like Ross County, Aberdeen, and Inverness, and all that. So that's probably as high as I've been up in Scotland. It's probably the furthest I've travelled. For like non-league so far, like this year in Scotland, I'm not sure if I've really gone as far as I can go. I'm hoping to, I'll maybe go to some kind of West of Scotland games, which will help with that. For England, I would say, like outside of Scotland, I'd probably say Yeovil Town. And the story around that is I actually had me and my friends, we were just looking to go to a game down south, and we used to go to a lot of Newcastle United games.
Good
And
choice, by the way.
yeah, yeah. So, so I used to go to a lot of those kind of games. And yeah, I wanted to see, I always wanted to like a, lower league game in England. I'd been at the English Championship when, Newcastle were sadly down, for a year and that. But we had tickets for it was Bristol Rovers against Sunderland. We would have been in the Bristol Rovers end, but we just wanted to watch a game, and it got called off, and we had like booked hotels, everything, just the usual. This always happens to me, right? So we booked everything, it's all organised, and then they had to. I think Sunderland pulled out because the John McLaughlin, who's now at Rangers, got injured, and because of that, they didn't have a sub goalie, they didn't have a senior sub goalie, so it's just the irony of trying to go outside Scotland to go down to a game down south, and it gets called off because a Scottish player gets injured. So it's just ridiculous. So like on the day we were like, oh, what are we going to do? And it's like, well, we could just go to the pub and watch, whatever's on the TV, like Man United or something. I thought, nah, like it's what a waste of a trip to come down south and just watch a TV screen. So we were looking around, and then we found like Yeovil Town were playing at home. I think it's Huish Park against Dover Athletic, and that was it. So we went down there, and it was I mean, from we were already in Bristol, but from I think it was about an hour from Bristol to get down to Yeovil, and it was in the middle of nowhere. We had to ask for directions and stuff, and yeah, they got beat 1-0 against the football wasn't great, but like the atmosphere was amazing, and the fans were class. They had a tent outside the stadium, and they had like you could get a pint outside the ground, and it was like a big kind of marquee tent and stuff. It was just amazing, eh? So for a game that was probably not one of the best games of football I've watched. It was one of the best day outs I had, eh? Because the was there down there with my friends, and it was just great. Eh? So yeah, I'd probably say that. I mean, I've done the usual. I've done your Wembleys and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, like non-league, Yeovil Town's the farthest I've been down. But hopefully, I'm hoping to see maybe not this season, but next season try and go to some other grounds and stuff, in the National League or the National League North and South. I've not seen. I think actually Dover Athletic, yeah, they got relegated from the National League, so I think they're in the North or the South. But anyway, yeah, hopefully do more of that because it can definitely get the miles in if I go down there.
Great stuff. Excuse me. You touched on earlier about cost. Obviously, I don't want to know figures, but this means a lot of hobbies cost money, but this must be quite a costly hobby.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. So like as I say, I can do 4 games a week, and to be honest, it doesn't. What I would say is that if I was to do like an away day, watching Hibs or going to see Scotland, which I just wouldn't do, to be honest. I would spend a hell of a lot more than I would if I was going to the games that I'm going to at the moment. Like most of the games are probably at the very most, £8 or £9 to get in. Under 20s games are free entry. The women's games that I go to are normally anything from like a fiver to like £7 or whatever. So it doesn't really cost me that much, and like the travel's pretty cheap as well. Even if I'm going to see Open Goal Broomhill, it's only 45 minutes on the train, and I guess the main thing, I think, how much you spend on football is. I guess the question is how much do you drink at a football match or on the way to the football match, and sometimes I could spend have quite a few pints. But generally, if I'm going to these games I'm on, I don't really drink much. Or maybe have a couple of pints and then I'll be, straight up the road at full time and stuff. So yeah, people would be surprised. And like I've said this to people before, like non-league football is so affordable. Like, and if you look at if you're getting a ticket for Hibs or Hearts and you're not a season ticket holder, it's probably about I don't know £25 or something to get in. You could easily get 3 or 4 games non-league for the same cost, and you'll get like a pie and a bovril as well while you're there. So
Yeah.
it's pretty rare that if I do go to non-league and I take like cash out, which as you know I call it non-league money because like most clubs, that's the only time I'll take the cash out of the ATM and stuff. But I'll always come back with change. Do you know what I mean? It's not as expensive as I thought. However, if I start doing National League games or if I was to go down to like say Wrexham or stuff, then yeah, my costs will probably go through the roof. I'll have to look at flights and stuff. But yeah, at the moment it's not that bad, and actually I probably save money going to a lot of these games and just going to like away games, in the Scottish Premiership and stuff. So for anyone that's like thinking that, is this possible? If you already go to games already, is it possible to go and see another team? Totally. Like, it's not going to break the bank, and you're getting a day out for like, maximum like, 15 or £20 most of the time. So, and that includes your food, your travel, and your, whatever you want to drink and stuff. So it's totally affordable. I think that was the thing that shocked me, is like, I can't believe that I was going to see a lot of these teams, and I was asking for like, like a pie and a bovril. They normally go hand in hand, and it was coming to like, £2 or £3 max, and I was shocked, because you're so used to getting, like ripped off
Yeah.
at like watching bigger clubs, and getting charged like, a tenner a burger and stuff, and it's like you go to these clubs, they certainly don't rip you off, and like most of them, it's like £3 for a beer and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? It's so cheap compared to that what I used to do. So yeah, it's well worth it, and yeah, I just say it's probably one of a better hobby for me, because I'm spending less money than if I was doing other things, to be honest.
Good stuff. What would you say you enjoy the most about doing this ground hopping?
I guess it's almost like, going into the unknown and exploring, and I say that, like, I mean, obviously I go and see quite a few teams, and I see them quite regularly, and it becomes like a second home, so you get used to it. But sometimes it's like, just going somewhere that you've never been before, and having the confidence to go there and know that even though you're maybe going on your own, there's people that are always going to speak to you and stuff. And I just find like certainly at the non-league football, people are a lot more kind of sociable, they're a lot more friendly, and they know that if you're going on their own, they're either going on their own, or they've been at that point where they're going to games on their own, and they see you on your own, they come over and they speak to you. And like, honestly, I'll give you an example. I mentioned obviously the civil service stores like earlier on, and so I think I've seen them about, including the pre-season, probably about 18 times this season. So I've seen them quite a lot. And the very first time I went to see them, it was in the pre-season, so they were playing Bonnyrigg Rose at home, and I went with one of my friends because I was a bit kind of nervous with going to a club I'd never been before and stuff. And at the end of the game, I was sitting down, and we just had like, a couple of beers each. And Joe and Boo, who's one of the the first team coaches, came over, and he shook her hand, and he was like, "Thanks for coming down, and it's good, good on you for coming down and watching us, and we'd love to see you again and stuff." It's just amazing. Do you know what I mean? There's a guy that I used to sign on Football Manager like years ago, and he's coming over to me and he's thanking me for coming down. You know what I mean? Just amazing. So, like, as I say, just the welcome you get off some of these clubs, and exactly the same with Trinent. I said earlier on, the very first time I went down to Trinent, that like one of the main sponsors, the owner, came over and shook my hand and thanked me for coming down. And I'm not a celebrity, or I'm not famous or anything. I'm just a guy, going around the grounds and stuff. But the fact that they could probably sense that I wasn't from Trinent, or it was my first time, because I'd never been there before, and they came over and shake my hand and chat to me. It's just amazing. And I got, as I say, I got the same at Dunbar. The kit man came down and gave me a pin badge for the club and was chatting to me for ages. Just amazing. Some of the people you meet in non-league football, it makes you wonder. I actually question why I bothered wasting like I don't know 20 odd years or whatever just going to Hibs games and getting ignored by everyone. It's like it's so social, and you build up loads of friends. Like, I've got loads of friends like from Hibs games that I still hang about with now, and I still go to the games with them. And it's exactly the same with the non-league stuff. Like I'll have my kind of group of friends where even if we don't plan to meet, if I see them at a game, they come over and we chat, and so you never really feel like you're kind of going places on your own. Do you know what I mean? It's just it's really good. Certainly I would say it's good for the mental health as well. Like just being out and about and engaging with people, and not just being a number in the stands. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like these big games, you got like 20,000 people at the game, you're just just a number, innit? If you're going down to these grounds and there's like, I don't know, like 80 folk or less than 200, everyone knows who everyone is, or
Yeah.
everyone kind of looks out for everyone. It's great. Like, always kind of enjoy it.
The next question, you might know the exact number, but how many games have you attended, or do you think you've attended?
Yeah, so this is scary. This is scary because I've got like this app on my phone. I think a lot of the groundhoppers have it, Footballogy, and it's like, just a way of kind of tracking the games you go, and like not including the games that I've not manually added, like the under-20s games and stuff. For this year, I think I'm definitely pushing 70 games, like since probably
That's good going.
July, which is just ridiculous. I think it's got like the number of goals, but I've kind of stopped checking it because I'm just like, geez, how many hours am I spending watching football? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not. I don't go to the gym or anything. I just watch, people playing football and stuff. So yeah, I think this season I think I'm about 70 or over 70 games, and I've not like set a target. If I hit like, I probably will hit like, I don't know, like 100 by the end of the season, just because I'm going to like, over 10 games a month and stuff. So I don't really set a target, but yeah, it's scary. But as I said, they're all kind of good days out. It's productive. It's going out and watching players supporting these teams, putting money in their pockets and help fund these clubs. So yeah, I do like the idea of like every time I'm going out, I'm giving money to those clubs and buying stuff, and I'm there and stuff. So that's how I justify it, But like when I say it to most of my friends and they really just want to like meet me for a pint, and I'm like turning it down because I've got like my third or fourth game of the week and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I don't know how long that'll last, but yeah, like my friends just get it now. If I'm out, I'm out, and if I've got a game, there's always a game somewhere, and I'm always going to have something lined up.
Is there a ground you haven't been to that's maybe on your top of your hit list to get to?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, well, I would start. I'll start with like the race course, like Wrexham. That's probably high up, and it's not just because I love the TV show is great and stuff, and I like Deadpool like everyone else, but it's more it's more to do with the football and stuff. I've not really been to see any like Welsh clubs and stuff play, and I've visited Cardiff not for the football before, so I'd love to do maybe Wrexham sometime. But probably wait until they've finished building a new stand, because it seems like it's you need to know people to get tickets there. It's just so busy. Apart from that, I would say I watched Darvel, recently, and they pulled off like probably the biggest shock in Scottish football when they knocked Aberdeen out of the Scottish Cup, and that's Recreation Park is very kind of high up my list, and I'm hoping I might be able to go through on the 13th of February, which is actually my birthday actually. So hopefully, I'll kind of find a way. Like my mate says, you might drive through, so we'll go through after work and watch Darvel against Falkirk. So yeah, that would be another one I want to go to. Apart from that, kind of less like more kind of locally, I would say there's a lot of the kind of clubs in Fife that I've not been to visit yet. One of them's Cowden Beef. I've seen them play loads over the years, through Hibs, and I saw them play the Civil Service Strollers, but I've never actually been through to visit their ground. So yeah, that's pretty high up as well. But yeah, those are the kind of main ones. And yeah, and I sound like I'm addicted to this stuff. I am, believe me. There's just honestly, I could probably rattle out about 100 clubs. But like Auchinleck, Talbot, and Cumnock Juniors, I know they're both rivals. love to visit their grounds. Obviously wouldn't be on the same day because they hate each other, but I would do maybe one of those or catch them on a derby. Pollock FC is another one. I don't know the ground name, but that's another one that I would be up for. So yeah, there's loads. I mean, the west of Scotland, I really need to start getting through there and kind of visiting those teams. So yeah, hopefully I can tick a few of those off this season, if not next.
Great stuff. And do you? I suppose there's two parts of this next question. Do groundhoppers have like meetups type of thing, or do you? And also, I was going to say, do you bump into other groundhoppers when you travels?
Yeah. So I mean, I've got like I actually I've been in quite a few games with Craig Gordon, and obviously he is involved with Trinent. So when Trinent aren't playing, like on Boxing Day, we went up to Forth Bank Stadium to watch University of Stirling against Berwick Rangers, and we've been to quite a few games there. We've been to Dunbar. We were recently at the Penny Pit to watch Preston Athletics. So we do meet up, and I would say like Craig Gordon and or one of my mates, Ryan Moffat, who's like he does media for the Bonnyrigg Rose Ladies. So he does a lot of ground hopping himself, and probably knows a hell of a lot more about the level than I do, to be honest. So he goes to quite a lot of games, and I bump into him there. And yeah, I've got loads of my kind of friends that kind of come out in and out of it. To be honest, like my mate Stuart, we go to quite a lot of games. Whether we Spartans or Strollers, and and hopefully we'll be doing the Darvel game in a couple of weeks as well. So you do find like a group of guys who are just as mad as me, and they just want to like go to like 100 games, and they're just they don't want a night off, like, and you bump into them, and I've bumped into groundhoppers like from down south that have came up to Scotland to go to games. Like I bumped into a guy, so that was a guy called Louis who was up from where was it he was from. Anyway, I can't remember. I've never been, but he was up from down south at a store game, and then the next day we went to East Stirlingshire against Gallifreydine because I was like, I need a game on the Friday, and he was looking for one, so we literally just met, and then we went to a game at the Falkirk Stadium together the next day. So it happens all the time, but you do know, you kind of know who the groundhoppers are, when you go to these games. And yeah, it's always kind of good, but I'm not really. I know there's ground hoppers that do statistics and stuff, which is good, and all that kind of stuff. I don't really do that. I'll take a few photos and I'll post a bit on Twitter, and that's about the kind of extent of what I do at the moment. I'm hoping to maybe do like a podcast or something later in the year or later in the future that kind of pull in some of the ground hoppers and stuff, and I'm sure they've got kind of stories that are that I've not kind of experienced before. So yeah, there's just loads of them. They're dotted around. But one thing like a lot of the clubs told me was that a lot of these clubs love ground hoppers because they kind of. I know like a lot of people would love just to have their own supportive fans and that's fine. But ground hoppers are that kind of extra revenue stream. And because they kind of dot around, they're kind of, I guess, spreading the wealth across different teams rather than just one or two. So that's the kind of way I see it. And you'll find that a lot of ground hoppers, much like myself, we can be fairly neutral as well. It's not like we like one team, hate the other one. So we can be pretty neutral as long as the football's good. So yeah, that's one thing I've found. And yeah, you get treated well if you're a ground hopper as well. They like it when you get people rocking up that they've not seen before.
Great stuff. And the last question for the show tonight: any plans? You touched on a little thing there about a podcast, but any plans for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, and it's been it's been a really kind of worthwhile hobby for me, and it's got me back out there doing things. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing occasionally like a sponsor games. Like I've done done one recently at Preston Athletic when they had Leaf Athletic over, and I've got one lined up with the civil service strollers in March. That's against University of Stirling, and they've actually got one coming up soon with Leaf Athletic at home to Pace. So I'm trying to sponsor games more because I guess if I can get people going to the games with me, then it makes sense just to try and sponsor games and put a bit more money into the clubs than we would normally. So yeah, one of my kind of main aims. I'm not going to say I'm going to sponsor a game every month because I'll go broke very quickly. But certainly, I'm hoping to kind of sponsor more teams around Scotland where I can, sponsor some games, trying to give it a bit more exposure. The podcast and stuff. There's a lot of really good podcasts out there at the moment, and there's a lot of good radio shows like yourself, and the radio show you're doing. I've listened to the interviews you've done, and like Craig Gordon runs Saltire Sports, like Radio Saltire. There's lots of good ones, and like Open Goal podcast's been going for years as well. So I don't really want to like step on anyone's toes because I know how much effort it goes into these types of things. But yeah, like hopefully I'll do like some kind of podcast, and maybe I'll just talk about pies for an hour or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a gap in the market that no one's tapped into, like football food or something. But but in all seriousness, I just love talking about football and hearing about other kind of teams and other people's experiences. And as I said, I think what you're doing is fantastic because you're giving a platform to a lot of these football clubs, and honestly, like they say, like word of the mouth is the most kind of powerful tool, and it really is. And it's like when people hear about things, they get interested. If they get interested, they're almost halfway in the door. You know what I mean? So, yeah, certainly, keep up what you're doing, and hopefully, some of the listeners will pop along to see these clubs, and I'll no doubt bump into them at the Pie Hut or something. But yeah, it's it's that's the kind of plan is just to keep doing what I'm doing, just enjoy it. And if I do a podcast or stuff like that, then all good. I'm just excited about seeing all these teams, and as I say, I've barely scratched the surface. So in a few years' time, I'll hopefully seen most of the clubs that I want to see, but we'll see.
Excellent. Well, it's been great chatting to you. I'll shout the Twitter out for Craig again. It's at Terrace Trails. If you want to go and check out on Twitter. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thanks very much, Craig.
Thanks a lot for having me, Stephen, and all the best. And I look forward to hearing your other interviews. But yeah, as I say, I love the show you're doing. So just keep it up. It's awesome.
Thank you.